As you can imagine, when you say you're going to bring AI and that into your business, a lot of people get concerned, scared. There's a bit of fear in there. But we've been able to have a really great interaction where staff enjoy the use and the handover is quite seamless. And I think it's important to keep that.
Hello, my name is Jason Reichl, and you're listening to Risk Management Brick by Brick. I'm fascinated with people who are helping build and maintain the physical world around us. On each episode of this podcast, we'll dive in with a risk manager, speak to them about how technology plays a role in this process.
Welcome back to Brick by Brick, live at ITC. I'm joined today by Grant Beck. He's the head of innovation and optimization at KBA Group. Optimization is spelled here like the British way, so we know you're not from here, right? The VP of Young Insurance Professionals in New Zealand and Australia, which we'll talk a little bit about. I'm really excited you're speaking about AI at the conference and other things like that. Technologist, insurance professional. These are my people, so I'm interested in this conversation. Why don't we start with a 60-second pitch on who you are, why you're here, and kind of what you're excited about?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. So 60-second pitch is, my name's Grant Beck. I'm from Brisbane, Australia. So 26 hours door to door, but here for learning, meet new friends, connections and opportunities within the space. Back home, I work for KBA Group as the head of optimization and innovation. And that's really just bringing the hammer and nails to the ones and zeros. We're a builder by the base of our business. That's our core business for getting people back in their homes after an event. But how do we use smart technology and smart process
To be able to deploy in a flexible way in an unflexible situation, right?
Exactly right.
One, thank you for doing that work. It's important work. Let's just start with the risk, okay? So I'm going to ask first an AI question, and then we're going to get into some risks on KBA. But for risk managers listening, where does AI create real business impact today? Where are you seeing it can really help optimize? And where would you be telling the average business owner to stay away from? Let's use construction as an example since we both share that in common.
As you can imagine, you've got the carrier, you've got all of the TPAs and everyone that's involved in an insurance claim. So AI has a great position in moving things at speed. I say, help it remove the mundane, copy-paste, non-money-making task. For a business owner, you get paid X, it costs you Y. How can you do that as efficiently as possible? But the important thing to remember is you don't want to lose the core focus, which is the customer. At the end of the day, there's a person that needs your help, and you don't want to be replacing that with AI. So how do you empower your staff to do more complex tasks and speaking to those customers and having great customer interaction?
Yeah, I always like to think about it as you were trying to aim for cleaner decision making.
100%.
Let's talk about the thing that you just said that was interesting to me is when we're talking about the impacts of AI and staying close to the customer, the goal should be to get closer to the customer for agencies, for brokerages, for even carriers, right? Carriers often lack a real connection to their customers. So I think the world of AI is going to allow us to do that. What about when we use AI for things in businesses that are about optimization? So for KBA, where's something that you've deployed AI successfully?
Yeah, so two quick examples. The first is our first notice of loss, our first interaction with the carrier, giving us that claim to go and look at and help that customer. So originally we would have an inbox and the jobs would come in, someone would have to open that, create a job, ring the customer, let them know we've got their claim. We would receive on average 600 to 1,000 emails a day. So we were able to deploy AI successfully in there to go from what would be a 2 to 3 day experience now to a seconds experience for the customer. The second part is assessment teams getting to site. So we partnered with Google, some cool analytics and using Google Maps and a lot of plugins there. We can quickly, within seconds of that claim coming in, it can look at our assessors and our TPAs and go, this is when they're available in their schedule. This is who lives closest. This is the most optimized route. Sends a text message straight to the customer to say, are you available at this time and date? They click yes, it books straight in. It means we get people to site quicker, we empower our teams quicker, and the customer's having a better customer experience.
I love all that. That's clear operational AI, makes very clear. One of the things that I'm challenging people with we're talking about AI in an insurance conference is most of these companies who use AI in their claim management tool, all these, you walked around here, you've seen what the companies pop up, not criticizing, but going, wow, a lot of them are using ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these kind of LLMs, but none of them are configured or have pattern recognition for insurance related materials. Is it proper to use AI as an example in those environments, or for most businesses, what you say focuses on core operational things like routing and all the things that really affect the customer that are standard operating procedures?
Great question. I think there's two parts to it. The routing and getting our teams to site and the administrative tasks. We've seen best bang for buck there to help our teams and get a quick win. In terms of how do we support smart data analytics and, report writing, these ChatGPT type models, we're lucky enough that KBA's invested to having our own in-house development. So we have a lot of data that allows us to do things where we're going to start to empower the report writing side of things. Do we ever want to replace the human writing the report? No, not at all, because that's important. And from a legal standpoint, there's a lot of things happening there in the background around what's actually a good report that would be accepted in a legal setting. So we want to do that where it's like a learning tool for the assessors, a quality assurance check.
Yeah, human in the loop. So one of my big things is like, what human in the loop precautions would you think people should put in place for these things? Anything that probably goes to your customer, a human should be in the loop for. Anything that's about writing a claim, anything that's about nuts and bolts of the insurance industry should be reviewed by a human at this point in time. That's the responsible positioning. How do you design that human handoff with AI though? Because usually it's human to human, or maybe ticket and email in the example that you gave in the beginning. How do you handle the relationship, and how do you enable people to be able to interpret AI and it's not necessarily all factual information?
We've almost gamified it at KBA with our teams. As you can imagine, when you say you're going to bring AI and that into your business, a lot of people get concerned, scared. There's a bit of fear in there. We named our AI called Barry, true Australian name. And Barry has his own user in our CRM system. He has a logo, a little robot picture of Wally, and the team see chat notes that come through, or reminder notes as we call them, for tasks that he's appointing them to do within our CRM. We've had instances where I received a phone call from a new staff member asking if they could have Barry's phone number because I need to speak to Barry. But we've been able to have a really great interaction where staff enjoy the use and the handover is quite seamless. And I think it's important to keep that.
I love that. One thing I asked you on the show because I really like the topic you're going to be talking about here at ITC. You haven't done this today, right?
Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday, I'm sorry. So in that one, you're talking about how to use AI essentially without losing the customer experience, which is the center of like the whole thesis of this conversation. I think it's really important to remember that insurance, the entire insurance world, is confusing for people affected by it. I just think what you guys are doing is really, really great here. We always say this, AI is supposed to open up time for you to be more strategic. Yet we never say what that more strategic thing is. So what are your people doing instead of routing, instead of those things?
We haven't got rid of any staff in our business by bringing AI in.
Right.
We've just empowered them more. And when we say doing those, what's the next task? Tasks that we can't get AI to do. Ringing the trades, organizing another painter to go in. If I can organize 1 or 2 or 3 more painters a day, that's 1 or 2 or 3 more houses that I can get repaired quicker. So it's really moving their roles to where AI can't have as great a function. And so empowering them to speak to customers, organize more trades, close jobs quicker. That's where it's really being effective by freeing up time for them to do those more complex tasks.
Is that having impact on the business?
In multiple areas, yeah. Look, we are managed by our carriers by KPIs, and one of those is our claim life. Yeah. And we're seeing that dropping. It's been in our business now for 12 months, running really like as a full rollout. And in that 12 months, we've seen month on month those statistics coming down and down and down, which is a fantastic result for us.
I have a question here, and I don't know if I came up with this when I was trying to prep for this, or it's from something that I've read on you, but what did you change in training staff so they're AI capable in 30 days? You've rolled out something in production for the last year. How did you train your staff to be able to interact with that? The Barry story is great, but what was the enablement strategy?
The hardest part of enabling any AI is the human factor. That's probably my biggest learning curve, is understanding the human factor when you go to deliver something like this. Uptake, support, all those things. We have a fantastic team and we have a dedicated change or L&D manager, Molly, and she will dive in and she's full of life and she helps our teams really get on board and we address it. We gamify it where we can and have those great successes by having it as a user, all those things that I mentioned before, just is those little 1%ers that help people feel not as worried about what the change that's happening and be more embraced by it.
How long has KBA been doing this in Australia? What's the company?
Yeah, so the business has been around for 15 years. Started as a commercial builder, building units, apartments, commercial properties. Around that 15 years ago, I won a contract with a big insurer in Australia and built from there. We're now, 150 staff. We operate in all but 2 states in Australia. And that's mainly because there's not a lot happening in those 2 states. But we do 7 of the carriers. And we've
What's
got...
the biggest difference between Australia's insurance market and the US from your perspective?
There's not as many carriers, and a lot of the claims are indemnified. So the insurer does have that straight up builder model. So you lodge a claim, you've had a loss, they'll appoint the builder to help them manage that.
Car collision, it's handled more like how our car...
Yeah, exactly right.
You want to play a game of Risky or Too Risky?
Let's go.
Okay. Auto-approve low-value claims solely off image recognition with no human QA. Do you have an opinion on this? There's a lot of this going around the show.
Low value, I don't see that as
Too risky. I agree. Instant payout before liability is confirmed on complex multi-party losses.
Well, there's always risk there.
All right, but let's talk about that. So there's a lot of payout providers, if you walk around, trying to change the model, who want to accept the risk on behalf of others so that you can get the payout faster, but also they're accepting some of the upside on that. Does that seem logical to you? Does it seem logical to fiddle with that? This is like a thing where I'm always like, in our world, we have lawyers, right? And the lawyers will go like, oh, settle with us. We'll pay you out this, and then we'll take your claim and we'll go through all the process and we'll get more money out of it. I can kind of see a similar thing starting to happen here.
I think there's potentially a space for it. I think with some of the things that I've seen, I always kind of question myself and go, well, there's a good opportunities for fraud, and in that space, there's a space I used to work in, and things like that where, I think if there's an allowance to say, well, look, we're going to say that 5% of that, people are going to take advantage of that situation and how you manage that risk. I think that's important that they're taking that into consideration when they're deploying these models, because people are financially opportunistic at times. That's something that needs to be considered.
Got it.
Exactly right.
You don't sound like an American right now. What about tools like using AI? This is not risky or too risky. It's related to this question, but I don't really want to ask this one. Understanding or scraping information in order to get like sentiment or these kind of like more emotional reads. Do you think AI is there? Do you think we can pull that stuff and go, this person's okay, this person's not okay? What's your feeling on that?
We're really close to deploying a model with Barry to do that. I think a big sentiment in Australia is your customers experiencing vulnerabilities. And as you know, you mentioned it before, a lot of the times this is the first loss that a customer's had. And the emotion, people experience emotion in so many different ways. So being able to see that in a first notice of loss, which is usually the straight up, word for word as the customer's given it to the carrier, we can pick up sentiments, and it could be that they're frustrated or there's a complaint or they're experiencing vulnerability.
Is your plan with this model to handle specific things differently, or just to inform the person who has to?
Yeah, definitely empower them so that when they have that conversation, the human in the loop, as you said, to be able to have more meaningful conversations, they're ready for what they're about to, essentially, the customer they're about to speak to.
A lot of people say the promise of AI is speed. Is that what you've seen the value be, or is there another value underneath that?
For us right now, to where we're at in our first 12 to 18 months of deployment, the speed has definitely been where we've seen the benefit. What we're moving into now is definitely empowerment. Empowerment from a learning perspective, being more empowered when they turn up to the door. So we want to have our assessors, as we call them, when they knock on the door, they know who's going to answer the door. They understand the property, the situation, so they can make more.
The last thing they probably want is to make that person have to relive a bunch of information they already have.
100%. And the last thing we want our team to do is be fumbling at the door. Oh, yeah, so you...
Oh, my thing won't load,
exactly
whatever,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they know the house,
the
they know
cloud
what
was good, except internet is not always great where the cloud exists.
Exactly right.
Okay, the last question, since you do the young insurance thing, what's a piece of advice you would give to someone entering into the industry? And where would you point them? What kind of area do you think is really interesting or ripe for innovation that they should check out?
Someone entering into the insurance market, as we say back home, nobody leaves school and goes, oh, I'll get a job in insurance. Everybody kind of falls into it in some way, shape or form. And I was no exception to that. So I think, like the young insurance professionals, there's a lot of committees out there that bring all of the insurance professionals together in different lights. You can meet and learn and understand what other opportunities are out there, or people that work in a sector that you might not realize works in the insurance sector that interests you.
Insurance doesn't always sound like insurance.
Exactly right. Yeah, there's everything. There's building, there's legal, there's sales, there's tech, there's AI. There's so many different pillars of commerce that's in our industry.
I really enjoyed our conversation, man.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to, last question, 1 year from now, where's Barry going to be?
Further ingrained in our business, empowering our teams to do the best they can do every day, and making sure we have a great customer experience for the carrier and the client.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Risk Management Brick by Brick is brought to you by TrustLayer. Find out how TrustLayer manages risk so that the people can build the physical world around us. Head over to trustlayer.io, and then make sure to subscribe to Risk Management Brick by Brick on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. On behalf of the TrustLayer team, thank you for listening.